The lunchtime rush at the upscale Harborline Terrace Cafe was always loud, bright, and chaotic, but on that particular warm weekday afternoon, the chaos felt different. Tense, sharp, edged with something mean. Rays of sunlight streamed through the tall front windows, illuminating every table, every polished fork, every hurried step of the staff rushing to keep up. In the middle of this golden, bustling day, a moment unfolded so quietly, yet so violently, that it sliced through the room like breaking glass. A waitress named Misha Breland, known for her warm smile and steady patience, felt something strike her ankle. She thought it was an accident until it happened again. Harder, sharper, deliberate. She looked down, confused only to realize the man in the tailored navy suit, CEO Aldrich Grenton, the kind of executive who walked like he owned the air around him, was nudging her, now kicking her. Every time she took a step near his table, she whispered for him to stop, trying to steady the tray of drinks in her hand. But the third kick jolted her balance and her voice cracked. Trembling as she breathed out the words she had tried so hard not to say, "Please, please stop kicking me. If you believe kindness and second chances still matter in this world, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Good Deed Stories. Your support helps us keep spreading light." What made the moment even more heartbreaking was how quietly it happened. No yelling, no dramatic confrontation, just a soft, pained plea from a hardworking woman who had dealt with subtle cruelty far too many times already. Misha had been working at the cafe for 4 years, supporting her younger brother through college, taking double shifts to save up for a small apartment, and trying desperately to rise above the weight of the world. She was known for her upbeat energy, but lately life had been pressing harder on her shoulders. Rent increasing, bills stacking, her brother's textbooks costing more than she could fathom. Yet she still showed up every day with hope stitched into every breath. But Aldrich Grenton didn't see a human being. He saw someone he could belittle without consequence. He sat at his table with 2 other executives from a nearby tech firm, laughing loudly, bragging about numbers and power while subtly pushing his polished shoe into Misha's path whenever she came by. To him, it was amusement. To her, it was humiliation wrapped in quiet pain. Across the cafe, another man watched the scene unfold, Roland Vexley, a soft-spoken millionaire known around the city for his philanthropy and investments in small businesses. He wasn't flashy despite his wealth. He preferred simple shirts, clean manners, and observing the world with thoughtful eyes. Today, he had only stopped in for a quick lunch meeting with a local vendor, but when his guest canceled last minute, he decided to stay and eat alone. That seemingly small choice would change everything. Roland noticed the first kick, the faint wince on Misha's face, the way she shifted her weight but said nothing. He watched the second kick, the one that made her hand tremble as she lifted a coffee pot, and then he witnessed the third, sharp enough to make her gasp. The entire cafe kept moving, unaware or unwilling to see. But Roland saw everything. He saw the silent suffering and the way the world sometimes forced kind people into corners too cruel to escape on their own. Misha tried to keep going. Her heart pounded, her breath shallow, her dignity fraying thread by thread. She told herself she needed this job, needed every dollar. She told herself not to make a scene. She had endured rudeness before, but this was different. It was targeted. It was demeaning. And when Aldrich smirked at her fear, satisfaction glinting in his eyes, something inside her nearly shattered. Roland felt a storm of anger rise in his chest. Not the kind that explodes, but the kind that fuels action. He stood up quietly, walking toward Aldrich's table with calm, controlled steps. The sunlight coming through the windows outlined him like a silhouette, but his expression was clear. He wasn't going to let this continue. The cafe grew subtly quieter as people realized something unusual was happening. Aldrich glanced up, annoyed that someone dared interrupt his moment of twisted entertainment. Roland didn't speak sharply. Instead, he addressed Misha first, gently asking if she was all right. She tried to reply confidently, but her voice wavered, and Roland's heart twisted at the exhaustion in her eyes. Then he turned to Aldrich, still calm, still steady, and asked why a grown man, a leader of a company, felt the need to kick a waitress doing her job. Aldrich brushed it off with arrogance, claiming she had stepped too close or made mistakes, insisting he deserved proper service. The words were heavy with entitlement, and something in Roland's expression changed. He didn't raise his voice, but the room felt the weight of his disappointment. He reminded Aldrich that leadership wasn't measured by wealth or power, but by character, and that mistreating someone in a position of service was the clearest sign of a deeply weak man. Aldrich's face reddened, and he tried to throw his title around, mentioning his company, his influence. Roland simply smiled, turned slightly, and revealed his own name. Aldrich's eyes widened in instant recognition. The millionaire whose investments were known across the city. The man whose reputation for justice and integrity was nearly legendary in business circles. Almost immediately, the arrogance drained from Aldrich's posture. But Roland wasn't finished. He calmly signaled the cafe manager and insisted they take Misha to the back for a moment to breathe and recover. He paid her full shift's wages up front and asked the staff to hold her table assignments temporarily. When she was safely out of sight, Roland addressed the entire cafe. Softly, respectfully, but firmly enough that everyone listened. He spoke of the importance of kindness, not as a flashy slogan, but as a responsibility every person owed to those around them. He explained that service workers were not punching bags for the wealthy, nor invisible bodies moving around the privileged. They were people, humans, with dreams, struggles, families, and dignity. His words rippled through the cafe. For the first time in a long while, Misha felt seen. But Roland still wasn't done. He turned back to Aldrich, calmly informing him that his behavior would be reported to the business association responsible for his firm's ethics compliance. Roland even knew several shareholders who had been debating the CEO's leadership recently. Aldrich stared at him, stunned, as the realization set in. The millionaire had every means, and every intention, of holding him accountable. Aldrich left the cafe humiliated, his confidence cracked. When Misha returned, still shaken but trying to remain composed, Roland greeted her with warmth and asked if she could sit for a moment. She hesitated. Waitresses rarely sat with customers, but the manager encouraged her. Roland then told her something that made her eyes blur with unexpected hope. He owned several local businesses and philanthropic programs dedicated to supporting workers like her. He offered her a new job opportunity with fair pay, health benefits, and room to grow. No pressure, no obligations, just a genuine chance. Misha's heart pounded, both overwhelmed and relieved. She had never been offered kindness like this from a stranger, let alone someone so influential. She didn't know whether to cry or smile, so she did both at once. Roland reassured her that she didn't deserve what happened and that she had handled herself with grace far beyond what anyone should be expected to endure. The cafe staff, who had overheard pieces of the conversation, gathered around her with supportive nods. Some even apologized for not seeing earlier what she had been suffering. Misha felt an unfamiliar warmth spread across her chest, not the warmth of embarrassment or exhaustion, but the warmth of being valued. The rest of the afternoon unfolded peacefully. Roland stayed only long enough to ensure Misha felt safe and supported. Before leaving, he quietly covered the bill for every customer in the cafe, telling the manager it was in honor of every hardworking employee who made the world run more smoothly than people realized. As for Aldrich, news of the incident spread quickly through business circles. His board launched an internal ethics review, and shareholders questioned his fitness to lead. He was forced to confront the consequences of his cruelty, something he never imagined would matter. Misha accepted Roland's job offer 2 weeks later. She stepped into her new workplace feeling lighter, freer, and ready to rebuild her life with dignity. Over time, she became a supervisor, helping shape a company culture centered on empathy, something she had once only wished existed. And yet, even long after the incident, she never forgot the moment Roland stood up for her. Not because he was a millionaire, but because he saw her humanity when someone else tried to strip it away. That kind of kindness doesn't just save jobs. It restores people. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your engagement helps spread more real stories of compassion and justice through Good Deed Stories. Before we end, please comment. Kindness will always matter.